With the two Eastern Conference semifinal matchups now coming to an end, we have the Carolina Hurricanes against the Boston Bruins in the Eastern Conference Finals. This should be a very exciting matchup, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my preview and predictions for this series. I was originally going to post this tomorrow, and I had a video already posted today, but you guys really didn't seem to like that video, so I just took it down, and now I'm just going to move this one forward to today so we don't just have no upload today. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. Starting off with looking at the offensive leaders for each team heading into the third round of the playoffs, the Carolina Hurricanes defeated the New York Islanders 4-0 last round, and while it was a sweep, it was still a pretty entertaining series in my opinion. Watching both of those teams play was very fun throughout the playoffs, and I'm pretty excited that we're going to get to continue to watch this story develop with the Carolina Hurricanes and, continue to watch them go on this amazing run. And the Boston Bruins defeated the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-2, another very entertaining series. They were led in goals so far in the playoffs by David Pastrnak with 6 goals, assists Brad Marchand with 8, and total points also Brad Marchand with 13 points. He had a fantastic regular season, obviously eclipsing 100 points for the first time in his career, and he really just adding on to that with this amazing postseason so far. And he was doing a pretty good job this year of staying out of the headlines, playing a more cleaner style of hockey, but lately he hasn't really been able to get his name out of the headlines. The punch to the back of the head of Harrington, a lot of people were talking about that. Him stepping on and breaking Cam Atkinson's stick off the faceoff, and then obviously after last night's game, the short answers with the media and stuff like that, and him not being happy with them. So Brad Marchand can't get his name really out of people's mouths, but he has been playing some fantastic hockey. And then you look at the Carolina Hurricanes, letting goals by Teuvo Teravainen with 6 goals, assists Jaccob Slavin with 11 assists, and total points also Jaccob Slavin with 11 points. He's been fantastic, only 2 points this previous round, but it was only in 4 games, and they didn't really need him to be that amazing player that he was in the first round of the playoffs. So obviously heading into this series, Boston does have the advantage in terms of just star power and well-known guys that have already proven themselves, but this Carolina team is so fun to watch, and they're such a cohesive unit. They all stick up for each other after every little play. Obviously we saw what Dougie Hamilton did to Brock Nelson in the handshake after that series was over. That was pretty funny. If you guys didn't know, after they scored on Curtis McElhinney, Brock Nelson skated by and tapped McElhinney on the head, and then in the handshake line, Dougie Hamilton, after shaking Nelson's hand, gave him a little tap on the head. I thought that was pretty funny, and just little things like that, you can tell how much this team enjoys playing together, and the fan base of Carolina is absolutely amazing. When you watch games in Carolina, you can barely even hear the announcers talk. It truly is impressive. Sometimes over the past couple years, people were even talking about this team being relocated, but after this deep playoff run, no matter what happens in this round, you can bet those conversations are going to be gone, and this should be a very, very exciting series. Now taking a look at the team stats for each team after 2 rounds of play. Goals scored per game, the Carolina Hurricanes 3.9, that is very, very good, and they're going to want to keep this up in this series. They allowed 2.27 goals against this Boston team who is lethal on the power play and obviously very good offensively. They're going to want to try to get that down and, play a little bit better of a defensive game, and they're definitely going to have to rely on Curtis McElhinney a lot or Peter Mrazek, whoever they decide to go with. They had a power play percentage of just 10.5. That is definitely something that they're going to want to fix. Their special teams this postseason has been absolutely horrendous, but it really hasn't affected their style of play. I mean, they swept the Islanders last round, who also don't really have the best special teams, so I guess it didn't really matter in that series, but definitely I could see that being a focal point in the series against the Bruins, who are very good on the special teams. Like I said, man, bad special teams. Penalty kill percentage, 75%. They definitely want to get that up, especially considering how good Boston's power play has been so far in this postseason. And you look at Boston, they score 3.08 goals per game this playoffs, very similar to the Carolina Hurricanes. They only allowed 2.15 goals against those, so a little bit better than Carolina's, but obviously goals for and goals against, they're pretty similar in those areas. But where Boston really does get the advantage, like I said, is special teams. A power play percentage of 28.6 so far in the postseason. It's just been deadly. It seems like they can just get whatever they want when they're out there on the power play, and this Boston team, they know how to get under your skin. They can play a chippy and physical game, and obviously in those type of games, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for power plays and stuff like that. So I think Boston really thrives in that style of play, and I think Carolina is probably going to want to shy away from that, or they're going to show that they're not going to back down, and we could be in for a very, very physical series. But when you look at some of these numbers and team stats, it definitely looks like the Boston Bruins are the heavy favorites strictly from special teams alone. Obviously, they can play a pretty big impact in a game, but what we have learned these playoffs is numbers and previous matchups really don't matter, and any team can beat any team on any given night. It's definitely a tough series to predict because Boston is just looking very, very strong heading into the series, but then again, coming off a sweep, so are the Carolina Hurricanes. It seems like they're just not going to be denied this year, so I'm really looking forward to this. It should be a fantastic Eastern Conference final, and if anyone predicted this before we actually got into the playoffs, then kudos to you, because obviously you're lying, or you could see the future because no one expected this. This is crazy, but it definitely is going to be very, very exciting, and we should be in for a very physical but yet really, really fun series with a lot of star power. So now getting into my prediction, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess the Carolina Hurricanes win this series in 6 games, and I'm not really putting too much into it in terms of like looking into stats and everything on who my final prediction is going to be. These playoffs have just honestly been ridiculously unpredictable, and I think a lot of people heading into the series will predict the Boston Bruins to come out on top, and that this Carolina Hurricanes Cinderella story is kind of going to come to an end in this series. But then again, I have been wrong numerous times throughout this postseason, pretty much on every single series I predict. I was wrong about the Columbus and Boston series. I picked Columbus, and I also picked the Islanders against the Carolina Hurricanes, so we've also learned this playoffs that my predictions don't really matter, but these videos are still fun to do, so I'm going to stick with this. The Carolina Hurricanes, in my opinion, I think they're going to advance to the Stanley Cup final over the Boston Bruins in 6 games. And like I said, my reasoning, I don't really have a reason. I'm kind of just guessing because that's what these playoffs have taught us. But, you know, if I had to get into a reason why I think that, I just think everyone on Carolina is really playing the best hockey of their life. But obviously, that could definitely stop in this series against a veteran Boston team who have been here before. Most of these guys have won a Stanley Cup together back in 2011. So it definitely will be a very, very tough test for the Carolina Hurricanes. But if they can come out of this on top, I honestly think they could be a heavy favorite to actually win the Stanley Cup. So that is going to wrap up this video. I really hope you guys did enjoy, and make sure to let me know down in the comment section your thoughts on this series and who you think is going to come out on top and all of that type of stuff. And with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.